Alrighty everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today I wanted to do something different. I managed to play a new movement shooter over the weekend and it's coming out as early access on the 24th. So I wanted to talk about my thoughts of the demo, knowing that everything's subject to change though, so keep that in mind. Now you wouldn't be able to tell it from the content that I produce on this channel, but I've always been a massive fan of shooter games. Like since Medal of Honor Allied Assault, it was just ingrained into me. But I've always been in love. So a new dev team trying their hand at the business is inspiring and it's also very exciting. So yeah, I wanted to go over the things that I liked, disliked. So yeah, the game's called Empulse. The main selling point is movement shooter. It is built on the Unreal Engine. That has implications for sure. I didn't have problems like performance or mechanics. I think the game worked perfectly fine for a demo. Now, the first thing I wanted to talk about was the movement. I do appreciate the fact that it was easy to get into, easy to understand. I don't like the fact that it was very shallow. It felt like maybe it was me being stupid, but it had a lot of systems that I would expect from a movement shooter just be non-existent. So for example, the core gameplay loop of the movement in this game was sliding, wall running, double jumping, and the grapple. And beyond that, there was nothing else really. There was mantling, but you really couldn't do anything with the mantle. It was just a low mantle. There was no clambering, which was a very big thing for me. Clambering, I mean, being able to clear something from eye level if you press space or something. Some other things that I would have expected from the movement would be wall bouncing. I, like many other people, come from Source games primarily. There's just things that you kind of take for granted, and it's kind of weird to be absent in a game like this. I don't know if they were absent because of a lack of time or something, but again, these are just my thoughts on the demo as it was, not on the game as it might be. Also, no alternative methods of movement besides speed boost and grapple, which also got excessively fast, by the way. We'll get to that in a bit. The movement being shallow is a major problem because it's a means to an end. You like to go fast because it lets you outplay enemies. If the movement is shallow, it devolves into like see first, shoot first. I hope they expand the movement, but the fact that it's the main selling point and there isn't that much there is concerning. If your back was to someone, you were basically dead, which also flows, I guess, into the discussion on like game flow or the respawn timers, that kind of stuff. I think the TTK was very fast, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, especially in a 6v6 with how tiny the maps felt. And I'm not going to say were, felt. It got kind of difficult to really get involved in the gunplay. Either you were already dead or you had already just killed the other person. That also kind of goes into map design where a lot of them were just corridors with wall running walls. Indoors, like interiors as well, were just like very simple rooms. I wish there were maybe some more complex structures to like, I don't know, man. More verticality maybe. Essentially, the gunplay felt very lethal, very one-sided in many situations, especially as I improved a little bit more. The respawn timers by themselves are not a bad thing, but essentially, if you died, there was a very real chance that you would die again very quickly after respawning, through no fault of your own. Maybe you were equal level of skill with your enemies. They just had to. And because with the TTK, you were already dead. So it was very easy for the winning team to death ball. And for the losing team, it was very easy to death spiral. I guess related to that, we can talk about the maps and the game modes. I think the maps were incredibly blue or incredibly orange and no in between. And that was a problem because the default ability, which is paint, it's called paint in this game, basically a throwable, a Splatoon ball that affects everyone, which is both cool and also just a major problem that the game's gonna have. That was orange. It gave you a speed boost, so it made everyone that was affected by it incredibly fast. And then you had maps that were also primarily orange. Like I said, orange surfaces, red-orange surfaces, red-orange interiors. And then on top of that, with the maps that were daylight were set during sunset. So the sun's also orange. I had to change those UI elements to be yellow, but it was very, very difficult to track people sometimes, especially with that paint, which we'll talk about later as well. Like the movement got excessive, but in the bad way. And it was just obnoxious to try to track to a point where like that kind of like gameplay heavily incentivizes one-shot kill weapons, which were very, very powerful in this game. We'll get to in a bit. We'll talk about the game modes. Excluding TDM, obviously. So there was capture the flag, but it was a map. The map felt so small, the movement was so fast that sometimes you would just spawn in between 4 people in your base and they would instantly murk your ass. And it was very easy to get into a mech. The only way to reliably and efficiently kill a mech is by using the Halo Hammer, which was the only secondary option in the game. This Halo Hammer has incredible magnetism, and it was a one-shot kill. And so this game mode devolved into everyone's running around with one-shot kill hammers. They are impossible to track. The first guy in the mech runs into like a corner and tries to hold off 5 ants with sledgehammers, trying to beat his ass while the rest of his team does or tries the same with the enemy mech. So you're just in a stall-out situation until one of the mech dies and the other mech can safely park and claim a point. In this game, there are map pickups. It's not like a kill streak or like an item that you spawn in with. I guess that's just a choice, kind of like the Halo weapons or like the Battlefield pickup weapons. The other one was, it was basically carry the football. That one was interesting, except the football was throwable. So for one, you could throw the ball at an enemy and without any consent, they are forced to pick it up. What happened to me was I intercepted the ball carrier. When he tried to shoot me, he threw the ball at me and then I caught it. Now I have a ball in my hands and I can't do anything. And he has a shotgun out at close range. Now I don't know if that's intentional. I'm definitely not a big fan of the idea. It suffered from the same problems that the other game modes did, which was the maps felt absolutely tiny. So you can't carry the ball for any meaningful amount of time before running into someone. Your team just can't catch up to you because lack of like skill expression with movement means that everyone's just equally as fast. And the same happened with, I think it was called Intel. That one also devolved into basically the same thing. If your team had an advantage, it was better for you to just stall out and throw the ball away and wait for it to respawn. I guess we can talk about the weapons now. The TTK was, I think, in a vacuum, fine. Weapons were totally unbalanced. So obviously the shotgun was a big standout. It was a one-shot kill at a very respectable range. Most maps already encouraged close range. Beyond that, the secondary hammer, like I said, stupid magnetism. And then on the flip side, there were also guns that I guess you could kind of tell that they knew how oppressive they would be, and so they tried to correct them, but just kind of went overboard. So there was a burst fire assault rifle. It took like 4 bursts to kill someone. 4 bursts. The DMR was a similar situation. And beyond that, there were also guns that just didn't do anything. There were some that I just didn't unlock, didn't bother trying. The LMG was a 2-shot burst fire, so you can probably tell how that went. And everyone was just running around with hammers, so why bother using a deagle? Now we can talk about the paints. So I think the paint system is very unique, and it's probably, it would be a good selling point, I think. It's probably the biggest strength of this game, but it's also going to be its biggest op. Any paint that you design, or have designed, or want to design in the future, will affect both teams at the same time. This demo showcased the dangers of that very well with the speed paint. I don't know how much speed it gave you, if it was flat, if it was percentage. I just know that speed paint was everywhere. What do you do about that? I don't know if you want to design the game around that 20% boost. What, do you slow down everything else by 20% and then let people permanently use the speed paint? Like remove the utility of the speed paint? Do you nerf it? Like what do you do? What do you do? I don't know. I just know that it made the game the way it is. So you had a guy with a hammer flying at you at Mach 5 speed, and your only course of action was you should probably be doing the same. That's what it boiled down to. Is that good or is that bad? I don't know. Now, do I enjoy that? Fuck no. It's just how the demo felt. I don't know if they're gonna fix it. And yeah, that's everything that I had for the first impressions. So hopefully you enjoyed. And as always, have a good one and take care.